All right, so ready to dive into the world of electromechanical equipment assemblers? We're talking about the people who build the tech that powers our lives.
It's a blend of precision and problem solving. Really fascinating.
Yeah, and we're going deep on this one with these awesome guides from RoleCatcher. They've got all the info on this career path.
It's interesting how much this field goes unnoticed. People use electromechanical devices every single day, but they don't think about who puts them together.
So true. Okay, let's get into it. What does an electromechanical equipment assembler actually do?
Picture this. You start your day calibrating robotic arms in a busy car factory. You're making sure every piece is aligned perfectly, every movement is precise and fluid. Then you switch gears and spend the afternoon assembling those delicate satellite components in a clean room.
Wow, the environments vary a lot.
Totally. One day it's a manufacturing floor with the sound of machines all around you. The next, you're in a lab, at a workbench using special tools.
It sounds like you need a unique set of skills to succeed in that kind of job.
You need the meticulousness of a watchmaker, carefully placing each wire and component. But then you also need the problem-solving skills of a mechanic or electrician, because things don't always go according to plan.
Right, especially with systems that are both electrical and mechanical.
Exactly. You'll be reading technical drawings and instructions, troubleshooting problems, thinking critically to find solutions. And those clean rooms are serious business. Even a tiny speck of dust can ruin delicate equipment, so maintaining that level of cleanliness is really important.
So it's more than just steady hands, it's about a sharp mind and dedication to quality. What industries use these skills?
Oh, tons. Manufacturing, aerospace, automotive, telecommunications, those are just a few. And as technology grows, the need for skilled electromechanical assemblers will only increase.
It sounds like someone could work on anything from smartphones to spaceships. What are the pros and cons of this career path?
Well, the good stuff first. Job security is a huge plus. The need for skilled assemblers is likely going to stay steady and even grow in the coming years, especially as automation and robotics become even more common.
That's great to hear. Job security is a big deal.
For sure. There's also room for moving up in this career. With experience, you could become a supervisor or manager, leading teams and being in charge of projects. Or you could specialize in a certain type of equipment or industry and become a real expert in your area.
So you can build a really fulfilling long-term career path.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the feeling of seeing something you built actually work. It's a tangible sense of accomplishment. Whether it's a robot arm on an assembly line or a part in a satellite, you're creating something real, something that makes a difference.
That's got to be incredibly rewarding. What about the downsides?
Well, like any job, it has its challenges. The work can be physically demanding. You'll probably be on your feet for a long time, working with tools, maybe even heavy equipment. And depending on what you're doing, there might be some repetitive parts of the job.
So the physical demands are real, but what about the mental side? You must need a certain mindset to do well in this kind of job.
Oh, absolutely. Attention to detail is key here. One wire out of place or a loose screw can be a big problem, especially with complex machines or sensitive electronics.
Yeah, you weren't kidding about those clean rooms. I'm starting to understand how important precision is in this line of work.
It's essential. And it's not just about following instructions. You need to be able to think for yourself, solve problems on the spot, come up with creative solutions sometimes.
So you need to think on your feet, adapt, and be a little creative.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned pay earlier. RoleCatcher suggests the salary is pretty good for this field.
Always like to hear that, but I'm guessing it varies.
Right. It's not the same for everyone. Things like location, the industry, how much experience you have, even your specific skills, all that factors into what you can earn. Checking sites like Glassdoor or salary.com is always a good idea to see what the range is in your area.
Solid advice. Got to do your research. Speaking of which, how does someone even get started in this field? What does the path to becoming an electromechanical equipment assembler look like?
Well, most of the time a high school diploma or equivalent is the minimum they're looking for. But some employers prefer people who have gone through vocational training or gotten certifications. Those can really make you stand out.
Makes sense. So those certifications, where do they fit in?
Think of them as proof that you know what you're doing. Two big ones are the IPCA 610 and the JSTD 001. You might want to look into those.
Those ring a bell. Remind me what they cover.
So the IPCA 610 is all about making sure electronic assemblies are up to par, meeting industry standards. And the JSTD 001, that one's focused on soldering, which is a must-have skill in this field.
It sounds like those certifications are like a stamp of approval from the experts.
Exactly. But certifications are only part of the equation. Real-world experience is just as important, if not more.
Of course. So how do you get that hands-on experience? Internships, apprenticeships, things like that.
You got it. Those are great ways to get real-world experience. You learn on the job, you're exposed to how things actually work, and you make those all-important industry connections.
Win-win-win. Skills, connections, and getting paid while you're at it. Okay, so fast forward a bit. Someone lands that entry-level job, they're gaining experience, maybe even getting certified. What's next? How do you move up from there?
That's where it gets really interesting. Remember we talked about specialization earlier?
Yeah, like you're choosing your own path within this field.
Right. You could focus on the mechanical side, really getting into the nitty-gritty of how things like gears, bearings, and robotics work. Or you could dive deep into the electronics side, becoming a master of circuit boards, microcontrollers, even programming.
And specializing like that can open doors to bigger and better roles.
Absolutely. It could lead to working on really specialized equipment, being in charge of teams, or even training and mentoring newer assemblers.
Passing the torch to the next generation.
And a very rewarding experience it is. But that's not the only path.
There are other ways to go.
Sure, you could transition into a quality control role, where you'd be responsible for making sure all the assembled devices meet the highest possible standards. Or you could move into a more technical role, something like sales or support, where you would use your deep knowledge to help customers.
So you can move up, move laterally, branch out. There are options. It's actually a very flexible career path if you're willing to explore a bit.
You got it. And let's not forget about technology. With CAD software and 3D printing becoming more common in the field, electromechanical equipment assemblers will need to adapt their skills to keep up.
So you're not just building things, you're constantly learning and growing with the technology.
Exactly. It's a fast-paced world, and that's part of what makes this field so exciting.
Okay, so we've talked about specializing, different career paths, and how technology is changing things. But let's talk about something else that's super important. Safety.
Right. Safety is crucial, especially when you're working with electricity, big machinery, sometimes even hazardous materials.
Yeah, you're dealing with stuff that could really do some damage if you're not careful. What kind of safety protocols are we talking about here?
It always starts with the basics, right? Wearing the right gear, safety glasses, gloves, steel-toed boots, that kind of thing. But it's way more than that. You need to be aware of everything around you, follow all the procedures, no cutting corners.
So a real culture of safety.
Exactly. And that usually comes from good training programs, regular safety meetings, everyone looking out for each other.
Because at the end of the day, you want everyone to go home safe.
Exactly. Plus, a good safety culture doesn't just protect people. It usually means better quality work, and everyone gets more done too.
Everybody wins. Now, you mentioned before how CAD software and 3D printing are becoming more common in this field. I'm kind of curious about that. How is all that tech changing things for electromechanical equipment assemblers?
It's pretty amazing to see. Assemblers used to rely so much on those old 2D blueprints. But now with CAD software, you're working with a 3D model. You can rotate it, zoom in on details, even simulate how the equipment's going to work, all virtually.
It's like having X-ray vision for machines.
You got it. And 3D printing is a game changer too. You can prototype so quickly, test out different designs before settling on a final product, saves a ton of time and money, and it lets people experiment more, be more innovative.
So you can go from idea to actual object so much faster.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And as these technologies get even better, even cheaper, we'll see them used even more in the electromechanical equipment assembly world.
So for anyone listening who loves to tinker, who's good with their hands and likes to figure things out, and who wants to be on the cutting edge of tech, this could be the perfect career path.
Totally agree. It's a field with a lot of potential, both for your career and just personal growth too.
Speaking of growth, RoleCatcher talked about career stages for this job, which is a helpful way to see how someone might move up in this field.
It's a good roadmap. You usually start out as an entry-level electromechanical equipment assembler. Then as you gain experience, you might become a junior assembler with more responsibilities, maybe even supervising newer folks.
So you're not just learning the technical stuff, you're learning leadership skills too.
That's it. Keep learning and growing, and you could move up to intermediate, even senior assembler, leading teams, handling complex projects, mentoring the next generation of assemblers.
Really cool to see how you can keep moving up, keep learning new things throughout this career.
And never underestimate the importance of always learning. Whether it's going for more certifications, going to industry events, or just keeping up with the latest technologies, that commitment to lifelong learning is so important for success in this line of work.
So it's about more than just keeping up. It's about pushing those boundaries, seeing what's possible.
Exactly. If you're excited by that challenge, by literally building the future one component at a time, then becoming an electromechanical equipment assembler might be the perfect fit.
I think that's a great place to wrap up this deep dive. Big thanks to RoleCatcher for the awesome insights. We covered a lot, from the day-to-day of what electromechanical equipment assemblers actually do to why it's such a cool and rewarding career.
It's been great exploring this field with you.
And to everyone listening, if you're looking for a career that'll challenge you, that's fulfilling, and lets you make a real impact, keep those gears turning and those circuits buzzing. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.